can't log in remotely into my office desktop, into my office desktop. So number one reason you can't remote into it, and here's just an example. Matter of fact, let's use Dameware here. Do I have Dameware installed? I should have Dameware installed. Here it is, Dameware. So I'm going to assume that you are an IT guy, and I think you are. I can't log into my Office desktop remotely, right? Number one reason for not able to remote into desktop remotely is that that desktop is offline. Remote desktop. That remote desktop is offline, right? It's offline. It's turned off. It's not on the network, right? So in this case, we're using Dameware, and we can just type in the computer name. And if it's just called the remote desktop, that's great. If it's not, then do whatever it is, whatever the name is of your remote desktop. You can also use an IP address. So here's an example of a computer that I have on the network. It's called Kobuman. We're going to open up command line. And the reason you might want to try an IP address is that if a DNS server is not working properly, sometimes your DNS will not be translating these addresses to IP addresses, or not forwarding these host names to proper locations of the network, which would be the IP address. Okay, so we're going to ping Kobuman, and here's the IP address for Kobuman here, right here. You know, this is IP version 6. Preferably you'd want to use an IP version 4, which is simply like 192.168. whatever it is, and then you just type it in here, and you know, that's fine. That's if you're, you know, having DNS problem. Let's say, you know, your remote desktop computer is not working. Try the IP address of it, and you get it just like I showed you by pinging it. All right, I'm going to, just a moment, I'm looking for specific settings here. View advanced system settings. The other reason, I don't know, is it number 3, I guess, is that remote desktop is not allowed on that computer. See this one here? This is advanced system properties on your computer. So if you just search for advanced system settings and you open it up, you can see here that allow remote assistance connection to this computer is allowed, right? And then under remote desktop, that's just one part of it, right? This may not necessarily be for using remote desktop on your computer, but it is part of it. And here's a remote desktop part of it underneath it that we know for sure will have these effects. And it says don't allow, and then there's allow remote connections to this computer. Okay? And then make sure that's checked like this. This is on the remote computer, right? Your remote computer has to have this. And then, you know, you have to have proper credentials. You got to be allowed to do so, right? So you have to make sure that you have proper login. So here it is. Encrypted Windows long is Windows anti-challenge response. You know, you can, whatever it's set up as, you can use your login information to log into it. So let's just close Dameware. Let's call it something simple here. Let's just show us something that anybody can pull up on their computer. Here's our remote desktop connection. If I try to connect to Kobuman, it's going to ask me for my password. You know, and then I type in my password and then I connect. Here's what you would normally see for the first time, and then you type in login ID and password, make sure that it's correct and that you're allowed to log into it. I've talked about this in previous videos as well. Thank you for submitting this ticket. Okay, so we're going to say first thing, check below steps. I don't have to introduce myself to Alam because I already talked to him. Step 1. What did I say for the step 1? Try connecting with host name. Try connecting with IP address. Step 3, check. Oh yeah. Step 1 is make sure that computer is online. / turned on and on the network. Try connecting with, let's just do it one step. Hostname / IP address. Check remote computer to make sure it allows for RDP, remote desktop connection, remote desktop protocol, but you know, connection in this case, I suppose. And then final step here is make sure you use correct, I don't know, login info that allows you to use remote desktop protocol. That's it.